All right. Good evening, everyone. I hope everybody is doing well. And once again, it's a pleasure to connect with you today. Is the 25th of March, 2025. And we have come a long way. Congratulations to all of you who have been tuning in so far and been soaking in all the training information, and hopefully you've started applying it already. And we look forward to staying in contact with you so that we can all grow in the space of impact when it comes to learning difference to support our learners who need extra support. Once again, if your friend or your colleagues who got accepted in this program with you are not here, please call them. We hope a lot of you will tune into this session and not just watching them later. We know you love to watch later, but you miss out when you are not here. We really want you to be here because even in the chats, like the chats, what goes on in the chat rooms and stuff are things you cannot recreate when you are rewatching it. And so we want you to be here. And so please call everybody to come over here so we can start. As I said in the beginning, before the start, I said that today we're going to do something different. We realized that we have not also made a lot of you connect among yourselves. And so the first part of this today's session is going to be for you to go into breakout rooms. Please, when we populate the breakout rooms, just click join the room that you are assigned to automatically. Go there. We will set a timer. Once the time is up, you will come back here. Don't leave the training session. We know that this could be a challenge for some of us, but please try and come back. Even if you exit the training, click on the link you use in joining the Zoom and come back over here to the room, because that is when the trainer will start his training. He's been so generous to say that when I told him we haven't let you guys connected and said, look, use like the first part of a few minutes to let them connect among themselves. So today we're going to have a topic on inclusive and culturally relevant pedagogies. I love this because most of the time when we're doing trainings or workshops and stuff, we don't think about what is relevant to the communities we are serving and all that. And it's a pleasure to have Dr. Kenneth Gyamerah facilitate this session because he is somebody who has been in education in Ghana. He's been a teacher in Ghana, then went on to study outside, and now he's an assistant professor at Ontario Tech University. He comes with a lot of experience and quite insightful guy that I know a lot of you would love to even connect here. I know many people have benefited from Kenneth, and I personally have benefited enormously for Kenneth, and we also have him be part of the Africa Dyslexia Organization. So it's a pleasure to have him here today to take us through today's session. But I'll stop sharing the screen and let's have a chit chat. And the chit chat before we go into the breakout room is we're going to use the first like 5 minutes. And don't be long if you raise your hand. We want you to share feedback like, how are you finding this training? Is it useful to you at all? Tell us what is going on. So if you want to share how this has been beneficial to you, please use the raise hand button on your Zoom and we will call you. Don't just unmute yourself, just use your raise hand button and we will call you to share your input. And if you can show your face as well whilst you are telling us something, that would be good to put a face to you. And so it will be good as well. Share some of the highlights you have been experiencing so far in these sessions for us. Thank you so much. So we will go with, we have a hand up already, and we will go with Gideon. How are you doing? And let us hear from you.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Gideon. You can go ahead.
Okay. So this training has been very, very insightful and so impactful. I'm joining from Sehiri also Senior High School. I'm currently a Lead for Ghana Fellow, and the impact on this training has been so insightful. I'm applying all these strategies in my classroom. That is, Lead for Ghana Fellowship gave me a bigger perspective as to the kind of problems that exist in our educational institutions. I mean, some children can never read, some cannot write, and it gave me a clearer picture as to it's not coming from the student's side, but then it's from where they had the beginning of their training, where they started their education. So sometimes in teaching them, you have to come to their level, and this training has been so impactful. And I'm applying all the strategies, and the inclusivity is one of the things that I'm just looking out for. So like I just want to catch the fire today and make great impact with whatever the African Dyslexia Organization has for us today. So thank you very much, and I'm waiting for the insights.
Thank you so much, Gideon, for sharing. And good job, Lead for Ghana Fellows and all educators you're doing. I know the communities that you're serving, and for you to go there and just spend a time on this fellowship imparting knowledge, we say congratulations to all of you, and we're glad to have you as part of this program. So we go to John and listen to John. John, please, you can unmute.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, John. You can go ahead.
All right. I'm very much grateful for the opportunity given me to talk about some of the experiences and some of the takeaways I've gotten so far. I must say that it has been very educative and very informative since we started this program. Some of the things that I normally, you know, just put it under the carpet. I don't even talk about them in the course of lesson deliveries and in the course of working in the schools environment. But things have been unearthed and unraveled for me to understand that there is always strength in diversity, and children or learners, when they are also, we bring all of them on board. We can get some kind of distinctive capabilities and abilities in our class. So I must say that moving forward, I'm very much enthused about the cultural aspects that Dr. Gyamerah is coming to talk about, because we cannot take away, or we cannot do away with our cultural something. We want to learn. Everybody comes from a different cultural background, and it all affects our academic journey and other things I've learned so far. And moving forward, I will make them applicable in my school. I'm very grateful for your time.
Thank you so much, John, for sharing your experience on the program so far. I have to tell you, I'm also looking forward to kind of learn about today's topic, and quite excited about it. And it's a dear topic that is to my heart, because even when it comes to screening tools for screening children, or assessment tools, is something that we largely discussed it in on the organization. Like, how do we get to develop our own screening tools? Like, we're not starting, but some of the ones that are available, how can we make it more culturally relevant in the context of Ghana and across Africa? So thank you for sharing that. And we will be having Kenneth take us through the training shortly, but today's session we just decided to change the style a little bit. So from these small chats we have, and after that you're going to go into your breakout rooms and you're going to have 15 minutes. We will try as much as possible to have at least like 5 people in a room, and the goal is for you to share about who you are, your name, where you are teaching, or what class you're teaching. You can share bits, just get to know yourself. If it gets to the point where you need to share contacts, please share contacts among yourself, because we know, even though you are in Ghana, you may not have met each other before. And this is, the network is better. It's good. It goes a long way. So we go to Jonas and hear from Jonas. Jonas, you can unmute.
Good evening, colleagues. This is Jonas from Navrongo. I teach in Paga Senior High. The major issue of Ghanaian education to me is the basic education, that is KGs. I think if we are able to apply our inclusive education in the KGs and then learn to get professionals to teach in the KGs, it will help us a lot. Um, I have been in the teaching field for like 13 years, and what I've realized is that some students come from the basic school and they can't read, can't write, and sometimes it's just a headache. How to bring them on board to cope up with other colleagues is always an issue. So if after this you can get a program to let the KGs, the teachers in the KGs to understand that they are a core part of education and they have to build the foundation for them to get to higher heights. It will be very, very important. Thank you very much. And it's nice being part of the program. I'm learning a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. If you also hear and there is something you want to share with us as a feedback on how to improve moving forward for next year or for upcoming years, we very much welcome. So it's not about just the things that are going so great. We can also talk about some of your experience that you think we could share. We are very open to receive feedbacks as well. Okay, thank you very much. We'll take the last two comments from David and Benjamin, and then we will. I haven't heard from a female. If you're a female and you're here, please put up your hand so that we can hear from you. But if a female puts up their hand, then we will take one more in addition to the two. David, you can go ahead.
Hello, Ma. Good evening. Thank you for such an opportunity. It's been a great journey so far since we started. We have been impactful a lot, have learned a lot of things, and God being so good, we are applying it in our classes and it's working. We can see there is improvement coming out on students. We've strategized a way in teaching such children. For me, instance, I've been adding jokes, also jokes to such kids, and also showing them videos, and also trying to make them understand. And it's working. They are picking up, they are reading, and I'm always happy. I'm grateful that I've been part of this. I've been part of this journey so far, and I can't wait to listen to what we have today and also add it up to what I already have. Thank you, Ma, for this opportunity.
My pleasure, David. My pleasure. I'm excited to hear some of you are kind of starting to use what you're taking from here. You don't need to wait for the training before, because the thing is that it's your profession. All right. If you think about it this way, that this is my profession and this is where I wake up and I go and work and to make impact. Therefore, the kids or the youth that are coming in contact with me must experience something different. When it compare me to other teachers, I must be the one to stand out. If we make our mind like that, even with the little resources we have, we can make a difference. But if you don't see your job as that job or that profession that you're proud of, that is where there is going to be a challenge. And for me, I find myself in every environment. I want to excel. I want to be the best. And so that when I leave there, they experience that, oh, Rosalind just left here. You feel my presence, like my absence when I'm out of there, and you feel my presence when I'm there as well. Thank you so much. So we'll go back and take a comment from Rhoda. I asked for women, and now all the women are like, hey, we are here. Rhoda, you can go ahead.
Women Power, good evening.
Good evening, Rhoda.
Okay, so thank you so much. I'm Rhoda, as you said. I used to be a preschool educator, but then I just traveled out for a short program. Okay, so what made me to find interest in the program was that I joined the school and I noticed that every child is paying school fees, all right, but then there were some special kids. That's how they used to call them. They call them special, those kids that have slow development. They'll be in the class with their mates, they are unable to write, some are not talking, delayed speech, and a whole lot. So I was like, why is it that everybody is paying school fees, but then they are not giving any, let me put it, unique attention? But then I was like, okay, then if this program is there, let me just join so that I'll keep myself abreast with the knowledge in order to make impact in the lives of these kids. And before I left, there was one child, I took personal interest in him. He couldn't write straight. So the handwriting, you'll be writing, some will be going up like the seesaw kind of thing. So I took it upon myself after school. I'll be mentoring him, write this way, I'll be putting dots on the book, and God being so good, at the end of the academic year, he was able to write straight, he was able to write his name. So I was like, wow, so if I can do this, then actually I can just get more education and help a whole lot of people. So first of all, I would like to say a very big thank you to Africa Dyslexia Organization for making impact, not for just a specific people, but then making it open for everybody to be a partaker of it. We are very much grateful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. That warms my heart. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. We're gonna take just one now. The women I asked, but you've delivered. So we're gonna take just one comment, and because I really want you guys to go into the breakout room, have time for yourself. Kenneth is around. He wants you to connect and get to know yourselves, and then he's gonna take over and present to us. And so let me call on, when I said only one woman, Benjamin is still here. Okay, Benjamin, I know I've done a disservice. I'll come to you. I say, please unmute.
Okay. Hello, thank you for the opportunity. Hello, thank you for the opportunity. Please, am I being heard?
Yes.
Okay.
So your name, where you are from, it helps people to connect with you.
Okay, so my name is Jessica Seye, and I am a teacher. I had taught for 11 years, but I'm on a break. At the moment, I'd been training teachers and creating awareness and advocacy on developmental disabilities and inclusion of people with special needs in mainstream schools. And I've also been training teachers on inclusive pedagogical practices. So having come into contact with African Dyslexia Organization, I have gained so much that would enhance, yes, that would enhance my work for the free training I offer to schools and groups, actually. So and I, as a PhD candidate too, I am centering my research in this field, and I'm hoping that I'll gain some form of insight, or I'll get some takeaways from today's section to aid my dissertation.
Fantastic. Then please grab your pen and your notebook and get ready for when Kenneth take over. I believe you get so much inspiration from this gentleman. I want to say something. For those of you who have not finished the NESI self-learning course, you're gonna lose it. Please take advantage of that. It's actually a paid program. I hope when we said that, you will remember it's a paid program and we've gotten the license for you all. A number of you have taken and have your certificates. Congratulations to those of you who have done that. But for those of you who have either signed up and have not started the training, we can see you. For those of you who are also flipping the training, we can see you. We say that the minimum number you have to watch it is 2 hours. So we can see you, and we have also seen those who have really taken their time and consuming the content. Please make sure you have access to it. It's not going to be there forever. It will expire the end of April. So please, at the end of the April, don't contact us that, oh, I want to get access to the NESI training. It will be out. So please try and take advantage of that as well. Okay, so we're going to go into the breakout rooms. Once again, I said that when you see it populate on your screen, just click it and join the breakout room. Don't stay here on the main page over here. Join that breakout session. Go connect among yourself. You have 15 minutes to do that, and we will bring all of you back over here. Should in case you lose connection and you fall out, please use the link that was provided to you, your Zoom link. Use it and come back over here. Refrain from sharing this link to other people who have not been accepted into this program. Please obey the rule. Because I saw a comment today on Facebook and somebody was like, oh, could you share me the link? It was under comment, Dr. Kenneth Gyamerah's post. Can you share me? And somebody said, I'm going to inbox you. And this person has not been accepted. So please don't be sharing. We know that you want to do that, but please let's make sure it's not sharing, because at the end of the day, we need to write a detailed report of whatever has happened here to UNESCO. That is the only way they can be a supporter again for other people to also gain this opportunity that you have. So as I go on to populate, we will call maybe Rejoice as she share her experience, and we will populate. Today, please have mercy on me. My team are finding it difficult in joining here because there was a light out in the airport area and my team are struggling to join. So it's like I'm the only one here because I'm in the US at the moment. And so please help me and let's have a good day today. Rejoice, you can go ahead if you still like to share. The breakout room will open in the next 30 seconds. Please click it and go to the room that you have been assigned to go. And when you go there, please give everybody the opportunity to also introduce themselves. Don't let one person take the center stage and use all the 15 minutes that you have. Please. Thank you so much. The breakout rooms are open and you can click and go. Just click on what you see on your screen and go into the breakout room. We know we have some visitors here. You could also, we know you have good experiences. You could also join those breakout rooms to be with our educators here and share your experiences. Thank you so much. There are only 2 visitors we have today. So please do join some of the breakout rooms as well. Thank you so much. please click on the link and go into a breakout room. Do not stay on the stage here. For those of you who will stay on the stage, we most of the time think you are not by your phone, and that is why you're here. So please try and go into a breakout room. Thank you very much. Okay, so for those of you in the main room, why you couldn't go into your breakout room? You can raise your hands if you're finding a challenge to go into a breakout room so I can help. Okay. Benjamin, tell me what are you experiencing?
Yeah, actually, it's not about something I'm experiencing, but when you were about to call me, you called the other lady, and I was waiting for you to call me, but my network fucked up seriously, so it went off as I came back, and we had break into the rooms, so
Okay.
that's how come I couldn't. Yeah.
That's fine. So I see some of you here are finding it difficult in joining the breakout room. So let's have our breakout here. This is an opportunity for all of you to get to know each other. And you are quite a huge number. We didn't want this to happen. I don't know what kind of challenge you're facing. So you can unmute yourself, talk one after the other, and introduce yourself. Just get to know yourself. Those of you who want, I'm still trying to send quite a number of you into the breakout room, even though you don't want to go. I'm trying to get you into the breakout room. But whilst that is happening, we will unmute so that you can go ahead and talk.
Yeah, madam. So it is saying that the host has opened breakout rooms. Please wait to
Yes,
be assigned. So should we wait so that you assign us, or we should have it here?
you were assigned, but I think you did not click to join. Yeah, everybody was assigned. So if you didn't, then it takes some time. You lose the slot that was given to you. So I'm trying to send many of you to, because we have like 60 people here who are still in the main room. But I was saying you can unmute and get to know yourself. So now the unmute button is activated and you can get to know yourselves. You can have your breakout room on this stage.
Okay.
So who would want to go first?
Hello, Ma. Please, I would like to ask a question.
David, go ahead.
Okay, Ma. Please, I was actually assigned to a group. That's room 56, but a call came to interfere. Now I'm out of the group and I'm generally in this group now. So is there a way I can go back to my group, or I'll have to follow by this one?
Brian, go and eat amu. Go and tell Daddy to give you amu. Amu. I can wash.
Hello, Ma. Can you hear me?
Good for you, for me, okay? Okay.
Hello, Ma.
We can hear people's background, but
Yeah.
not the host.
Hi.
I think she's offline.
Okay, so can we start with the introduction ourselves?
Okay,
So,
let's
You can go ahead.
okay, my name is David Ofuri. I'm talking from in Sawam, Hebron, in eastern region of Ghana. Okay.
I am Alexander Tete. I am talking from Dokrochua, near Nsawam in Ayeswano district, eastern region.
What is it?
So Jan. So Brother Jan, can we get in touch?
Okay, sorry.
I am closer to you.
This is not going as planned because the interruption as to if we unmute everybody, what we are hearing at the background is not helping. So please, if you like to introduce yourself, I'll kindly ask you to raise your hands and we'll give you, we will unmute you to introduce yourself to your fellow educators here. So we'll go to Abby. Abby, you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you. My name is Abigail Trema. I'm speaking from Serioso. I teach at Serioso Senior High Technical School. I teach both English and French. And I think this program has been very helpful. Just that some of the interventions, they are very difficult to be put in at the senior high school level. Most of them are, especially the activity-based ones. Sometimes when you try to introduce some of these activities in the class, my English class is a Form 3 class. They feel, why are we doing this at this level? Or are we kids and stuff like that? So sometimes the response is not so encouraging, but that is not deterring us. We are doing our best to do as much as we can to help students who are dyslexic. And one challenge that we have at the senior high school level is that the students have gone through from preschool right up to the senior high school, and is somehow very difficult. I'm not saying impossible, but it's a little bit challenging putting in some interventions. Some of them do not even recognize the fact that they have issues. They don't even recognize that. And some of the interventions, when you try to put them in, some of the students, they feel you are coming at them. They feel maybe you are tagging them, you are isolated, I don't know, but it's making some of the interventions very difficult to implement at the senior high school level. And that is what I would like to share. Thank you.
That is so great. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. So, one thing as well is just let's also put ourselves in the shoes of these students when it comes to issues of just entering and saying that, okay, senior high school student, come and do this. Sometimes it takes more than that. You have to let them be aware as to why you are even asking them to do that. And it might take you time orienting their mind before you can get to that point. And so more work needs to be done. What we have been planning at ADU that we're looking at doing, actually, this will be our focus for next year, is to come with trainings that are for secondary school educators. It will surprise you that some of the interventions are going to be very similar as to what we are doing here. But then you're going to have the actual messages that you as a teacher, you should prepare the child before you start some of those engagements with them. If not, yes, they will come at you at the same way that, do you think I'm a child or something? And so well taken. I really, really appreciate, and we will look into this. We'll look into this more. So, for example, I'll just use myself as an example. When I was in JHS, like even before, when I was writing BC, there were so many words I couldn't pronounce, right? And so for such a person, if you come and put very, very big vocabs in front of me, thinking that, oh, because I'm almost 18 and still in JHS, you're coming to teach me big vocabs, you are doing a disservice to me, because I will not understand you and I will not be able to read them. But I will also be very offended if you bring 3-letter words in front of me, even though some of the 3-letter words and 4-letter words and stuff, I'll still not be able to pronounce. I'll like, if you bring a book that is underage, I will be very offended. But when you kind of call me and make me understand, it's all about communication, and make me understand, and I see the true genuineness of you, I will then be interested. So the entire school culture needs to kind of change, and the awareness and stuff needs to come in, so that it makes your work easier. But we will come back again with something just focused on for secondary school educators. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
We go to Livingstone. Livingstone, you can unmute, and very soon we'll bring everybody here in this group. But we have quite a number of hands up still. Livingstone, go.
Hi, Rosalind. Hi, everyone. My name is Livingstone Delali Agbo. I work with Lead for Ghana. I'm a leadership coach. I manage fellows in the Volta and OT regions, and my fellows teach at the basic and senior high schools. They teach students who are coming from low socioeconomic backgrounds. And I mean, like most of you know, students from these backgrounds usually do not perform, as much as students who are from well-to-do homes. So this training, it has come at a time where my fellows would need this training to equip them with the strategies that would help them, support the diverse learners that they meet in their schools. So good to meet you all. Happy to connect with you and to learn with you all. Thanks, Rosalind.
Thank you so much. Livingston, can you pronounce your name again? Livingston. Can you pronounce it again so that I make sure I'm getting it right? Where is him? I'm sure he went on mute and now he cannot. Okay, let me see. Can you unmute?
Yes, I can unmute now.
Okay.
So it's Livingston.
But have you realized I've been calling you Livingstone since last year?
I know. Some people choose to call it Livingstone. It's fine. The pronunciation is Livingston, but the spelling is Livingstone. Yeah.
Oh, great. Thank you so much for helping, because I've been saying Livingstone since last year. Thank you so much.
I know that. It's fine, Rosalie.
All right. Let's go to Rita. Rita, you can unmute.
So hello everyone, my name is Rita and I'm an early years facilitator. The training has been so helpful in that just this term, I got a student who is from the Arabic states, doesn't speak English at home at all, and he is brought to kindergarten 2, which is reception class. And then this training has really equipped me to be able to teach the learner. Now within a space of less than 2 months, is able to write and is able to sound the letters and identify write numbers from 1 to 6 and identify sound and then write the letters from A to F. So the training has been very helpful. Aside that, the other kids in the class, the school is also noticing a change in my teaching approach when it comes to reading, especially, and then they are really congratulating us and then the students as a whole. So thank you very much and looking forward to more collaborations with you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you. We will go to John. John, you can unmute. Okay, John, you can unmute. And please, as your fellow teachers are introducing them, so like the name, where they come from, what they just look at the names and connect with them. You can even send them a private chat and connect with them in their contact. This was the purpose of the Zoom, but a lot of you didn't click on when we populated, and it was hard for only myself navigating to reassigning all of you without closing the group. So John, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so good evening to everyone. My name is John Litowelabayate. I'm a head teacher of one of the JHS in Adam West District, Sege Community JHS number 2. I must say that I train as an early childhood educator, but some way, somehow, I find myself handling a school which is only a JHS. Some of the things we are learning here actually persist within the JHS system. You meet students that you expect them to be able to execute certain activities with ease in relation to their development and maturity. But looking at the challenges that they encountered when they were at preschool or when they were going through the various basic classroom, they end up in JHS and they are unable to perform the basic activities like pronouncing some of these words, joining sounds to form words, and doing what is expected of them. But I must say that this training that I have joined, from the way people are speaking, means this training have been in the system for almost some number of months, but I am in my 4th model. I've just joined, and I think since we started, this is the 4th or 5th model that I have joined. But from the way people are talking, it means this thing have been in the system for long, and the moderator and Livingston conversation tells me that they started this thing some years ago, that some of us just heard it and then we joined. But that notwithstanding, the little we had received has helped to shape to awaken some of us what the things we learned when we were studying preschool education. And we can actually incorporate it within the JHS system and help our teachers to assist students who are struggling. But I just want to quickly react to a comment or a submission made by one of our colleagues who find herself teaching in the SHS, and he was trying to say that you cannot apply some of these things at the SHS, and some of the pupils might think that they are being belittled and whatever they are supposed to do, they are not kids. But I want to bring this in relation to development and maturation. Maturation is it comes in relation to your ability to execute tasks with ease. So if you are in SHS and you cannot perform simple and basic activities as in reading and things that your colleagues or people in class 6 can read with ease, you find yourself in SHS and you cannot read it, then you have no business to complain when you are being introduced to the rudiments that will enable you to read fluently, irrespective of whether you are in SHS or not. So I want to appeal that whosoever is expected to get some basic rubrics in reading, as in phonics, irrespective of the level of his education, he should be able to come down to a level where he would now learn how to blend sounds. And I think when that basic function is done, the person will be able to read and now can boast and say that, yes, I'm in this level, and you should be able to read as expected of people within that level. Thank you very much. And I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'm grateful for joining, and I'm grateful for the learning that we are doing together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. John, I don't know how you go into the training. I'm glad you're here, but you have missed some sessions, as you're saying. However, we didn't start last year. We started, I think, in this January, if I'm right, or February, January, February. My mind it's off. However, the sessions that you have missed, please make sure you get in touch with the team so you get access to those sessions. We did send all the emails from the start to, so if you were part of the registered participants and got selected, you should have all the informations in your emails. If you do not, please get in touch with us because we want you to benefit fully out of this. Okay, we are about to start our training. Dr. Gyamerah was really generous and gave us a good time to use for the breakout session. For those of you who went into the breakout, give in the comments, how was the experience? Did you connect with some people? I know about 100 people here could not join the breakout room because of some unknown reason, but let us know how your experience at the breakout room was. And whilst I'm preparing to invite our trainer to the stage, I'll give opportunity to Miss Rachel. Your hand has been up for long. You can share about you, let us know who you are and whatever you want to share with us whilst I prepare the trainer here. Thank you. Patrick, you can unmute and
Okay, good evening to everyone. Hello.
Patrick, we can hear you. Just speak up a little bit for us.
Patrick Malfo, the head teacher at Pabuan Pedagogy in the Ayinsuano district in the Eastern region. Yeah, indeed. This course has really helped me a lot in bringing out fear in my people, especially what is making them not be able to write, and pointing it out to them gives them the confidence to be able to know where they are not good, where they are good, and they are able to come out boldly to do what they can do, to based on what they know, to be able to learn. And indeed, this is very, very good training for us, and I will encourage you to keep up doing it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Thank you, everyone. I would look at your comments in the chat room today. Once again, please pardon us. As I told you, my team are not able to join because they are still not having the light put on at the office. So I'm here trying my best to navigate through your chats and everything. Today, you'll not have people answering with you one-on-one in the chat or attending to you, but please forgive us. It's not our fault. It's something we do not have control of. However, I would like to introduce to you Dr. Kenneth Gyamerah. He's an assistant professor at Ontario Tech University in Canada. He's into education. He's a Chevening Scholar and holds a bachelor's degree of education from University of Education Winnipeg. Oh, Winnipeg people, where are you? And he also have an MSc in policy from University of Bristol, UK, and a PhD in education policy from Queen's University in Canada. Before joining Ontario Tech University, Dr. Gyamerah worked with the Toronto District School Board as a research coordinator and has led the anti-hate and anti-racism research portfolio. I know he was being modest when we asked him to give us a brief bio of him, but Kenneth is a man that you would love, and he has so much insight to share with you. And without much ado, I'd like to say a welcome to the training to meet our teachers here on the continent. You have been a teacher in Ghana before, and so I'm excited for you to share on this very important topic. You know ins and outs about all this training because he practically put this training, this whatever you're doing together with our director of training. He practically put it together, and all the trainers who came on board. And so we thank you for the opportunity to have you today. You can take.
Thank you very much. I am very excited to be here, and good evening. It's 3 p.m. here in Ontario, Canada. I know it's 7 p.m. in Ghana. I am very happy to be here. I am always going to be a teacher, and so I am always excited when I am in a space with my own people. One thing that my bio didn't say, which I would like to say, is that I am a trained teacher, and I also worked within the Ghana education system for 4 years as a teacher. So I understand some of the things that go into our educational system, some of the work that teachers have to do, the barriers teachers face, and everything. So I am very privileged to be here. So today we are going to talk about culturally relevant pedagogies. And before I share my slides, I would like to ask this question, and please feel free and use your, feel free and unmute and share what you think. You can also put your comments in the chat box. So what do you understand about the term pedagogy? What comes to mind when you hear the term pedagogy? So,
And if you'd like to answer, please put your hand up and we will unmute you to answer.
Okay, I think there are a couple of hands up.
So Ma, you can go ahead and unmute and answer.
Hello?
Hello, yes, I can hear you. You're audible.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. From
So Ma, if you can hear us, put your answer in the chat. We need to move ahead, and so I will go to Daniel. Daniel, you can unmute.
Okay, hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah. When you talk of pedagogy, pedagogy is the skills and the arts of imparting knowledge or teaching.
Great. Thank you for sharing. I like
Please,
that.
did you hear me?
Yes, yes. Thank you very much for sharing. Yes, I like what you said about it being a skill and also being an act
Yeah,
of
pedagogy
sharing and
is the
impacting.
arts and the skill of teaching.
Okay.
Or imparting knowledge.
Okay, great, great. Thank you. There are a lot of comments in the chat. Some people are saying pedagogy means teaching of children or helping young learners. Some are saying pedagogy is a strategy used in teaching. Some are saying it's a method. And some are saying it's a practice. Some are also saying it's an approach. So there are some key words, there are some common themes emerging from what everyone is sharing. Some are also saying it's an art. I like that. Because of the time, I have been given 1 hour, so I will make this quick. I really wish, because this kind of topic is huge, and I would wish maybe we could have had like 3 hours to do this, but because of the time, and it also makes it very difficult in a very large space like this to engage. But yeah, I really appreciate what everyone has shared. Those whose hands are up, maybe quick one, just unmute and share, and then we can move on. So, Fernandez.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, hello. Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And once again, welcome, Prof. Welcome home. Well, pedagogy refers to the art, science, or profession of teaching, especially as it relates to the theory and practices of teaching children. It encompasses method, approaches, and then strategies used to facilitate learning and then promote student engagement. Yeah, that's the little I know about it, sir.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing, Fernandez. Benjamin. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. Pedagogy, as in the word, the skill and techniques used in the delivery of a lesson so that it will become a successful one for learners to understand. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing, Ben. Rejoice. Rejoice, can you hear me? I think because of the time, I apologize. First of all, I'm sorry that because of the time. So we will move ahead. But based on what is in the chat, it's really interesting, to see how everyone is conceptualizing what pedagogy means. And it's interesting to see it from the perspective of it being a method of teaching, looking at it from an approach, looking at it from the perspective of a practice. And others also saying it's a science of teaching. Some are saying it's an art of teaching. This is really interesting and it's very important, especially when we have a diverse group of educators in this space and sharing. And some are also saying skills and techniques. So everything that has been shared is very true. When we think about pedagogy, I believe that it encompasses all the things that you've shared. And also we can add that it can be a belief system. The way I approach my pedagogy is rooted from how I believe in what teaching and learning should look like. For someone also, it may be specific to they're thinking about a practice. For some of them, for some people, it's a practice. They practice it. But at the end of the day, what is at the center of pedagogy is our ability to teach in a way in which it informs and centers the experiences of students, and also in a way where it contributes to other ways. For instance, most of the time when we think about pedagogies, people forget about assessment as pedagogy. But our assessment, because like most of you said method, our assessment methods are also rooted or are also part of our pedagogy. But people think about teaching as distinct from assessment, but it is interconnected. As teachers, when we teach or even when we design our lessons, we also think about how we assess the knowledge, which is very important. So thanks, everyone. I just wanted to start off by really creating space for me to know about where we are starting from, what you already know, what you bring to this conversation. And honestly, I'm not surprised because this is a space of teachers. And when teachers meet, it's a group of extremely educated minds. So you get to learn so much. So thanks everyone for sharing. All right, so I'll share my slides and then we will begin the session. Okay, I'll put it on slideshow from beginning. Yes, let me stop the subtitles. Okay, so I want us to use 2 minutes to do this activity. It's called the KWL chat. And I usually do this with my students. Like I have had experience teaching primary school, grade 4, class 4 students. I've had opportunity teaching JSS students. I've had opportunity teaching high school students, and I'm teaching undergrad, master's, and PhD students. But still, I find this as very important activity, no matter like the level that I teach. So with this KWL, the K means know, what I know or what you know. The W is what you want to know, what I want to know. And then the L is what I learned. So when I do this activity, I encourage my students to think about this from, look at the first 2 columns. So before we begin this session, what do you want to know, or what do you already know about inclusive and culturally relevant pedagogies? So I want you to create this table. Maybe if you have a sheet of paper or anything, it can also be a visual mapping. What do you already know about this topic? And then focus on the second column, which is what I want to know. What do you want to know? List any questions and curiosities or anything that comes to mind that you want to know about this topic today. And then leave the L column for now. We'll come back to it at the end of the session. So I'm giving you 2 minutes for you to do this activity. So the clock starts now. What I know, what do you already know? What prior knowledge do you bring to this topic of inclusive and culturally relevant pedagogies? The W, what questions or curiosities or what do you want to know about this topic? So we will come back at 7:12. It's now 7:10, so we'll come back at 7:12. Oh, sorry. Okay, according to my timer, the 2 minutes is up. I would like to create space for 2 people to unmute and share what they wrote for the first column, which is the K column, and the second column, 2 people. But others can also put their thoughts in the chat box so that we can all follow through. But 2 people unmute and share what you have written for the first 2 columns. Anyone? Okay, Nana Nyakon, I can see your hand up. Unmute and share.
Okay, so what I know about inclusive, culturally responsive pedagogy has to do with using the perspective of the infusion infusing the perspective of children from different ethnic backgrounds and developing different strategies in teaching them. And what I want to know is that literature has mentioned different strategies that we can use. That is a teacher being in front of the classroom, welcoming the students. And most of these strategies I know are at the kindergarten level because I work with early childhood children in early childhood period, so 0 to 8 years. So I just want to find out the different strategies maybe we can employ at the JHS because we are dealing with pre-tertiary aside from early childhood education. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much for sharing that, Nana. I like your usage of the term infusion. It's really critical word. Like, how do you infuse those ways of knowing, those ways of being, those cultural perspectives and experiences into what we teach? Thank you. Yeah, John?
Yeah, okay. Thank you for the opportunity. The first one, that is what I know. I know that when you want to consider inclusive and culturally relevant pedagogies, it means that you factor all those methods that takes into consideration where a learner is also coming from. For example, maybe you are teaching a learner who comes from the central region or Fanti. You also take into consideration some of the culturally relevant stuff that are very important in the classroom. You include them so that no child or no learner is also left behind or lagged behind. Then the second one is that I also want to know that what are some of the things that also become a barrier or a stumbling block for teachers or for educators in achieving the inclusive and culturally relevant pedagogies in the course of administering quality education in their classroom. Thank you.
That's very brilliant. Thank you, John. I like what you said about the column 1, which is the K column. What I know, what you said is basically directing us towards centering the land on which the student is on into what they learn. So what does it mean as a teacher when you are in a place in Volta region, for instance? I know the regions have changed. OT region, like, what does it mean when you teach? How do you center some of those experiences that students already have based on their location into how you frame your teaching? Thank you very much. I think there's another hand up. Quick 30 seconds. Go ahead. Suhini.
Good evening, and thanks so much, Prof. Welcome home.
Thank you. Thank you, my friend.
I'm honored. I'm honored for this opportunity. So, what I know about inclusive and culturally relevant pedagogies is that 2015, Ghana has passed the inclusive educational policy, which means our educational system is now seen as the inclusive practices system. So, looking at how, irrespective of the child's or the learner's background, be it economically, culturally, or any other means, we have the learners coming from different backgrounds. So, irrespective of the background the person is coming from, there should be an opportunity for them to, be seated under one roof and achieve the same goal, that is the learning goal. That is some of the things I know about inclusive and culturally relevant pedagogies. Now, what I then want to know is that what are some of the challenges that we are likely to face or we are prompted to face in implementing these inclusive practices across board in our Ghana education system, and how can we therefore address these kind of challenges? Especially when it comes to the early childhood. I have to be so specific here because I'm dealing with early childhood. When it comes to early childhood settings, in
Okay.
both public and private. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Thank you very much. My very good friend Hassan. It's interesting to connect with people I know in this session. I think that's the beauty of it. John is also my brother, so it's really amazing. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. Because of the time, I have an hour, and I also want to respect your time. I would go on, but Jonas, FK, and Nora, we can circle back to this at the end of the lesson, and then I'll give you opportunity to share. But thank you so much for your engagement. Okay, so most of the time when we think about inclusion, we think about exclusion, we think about responsiveness, we think about culturally relevance. There are certain ideologies or notions or practices that we encounter as teachers, as educators, that create those kind of spaces. And most of the time, I call this systems of power. So our world is created in such a way that before you're born, you already know that there's a sort of division. It can be based on class, it can be based on educational system, it can be based on ethnicity, it can be based on language, it can be based on social class. It's different, even in terms of political affiliations and even age, or whether the person has some form of disability. So there's these systems that really are created in a way that already deny us as human beings, deny us relationships. And so when you look at these images, the first one here is exclusion. The second one is segregation. The third one is integration. And the fourth one is belonging. When you look at the various issues that have been shown here, what comes to mind? When you visualize this, is there anything that interests you? Is there anything that makes you wonder about? And I would welcome you to put your comment in the chat, and I will give two people opportunity to share. Looking at these four different constructs and the images that come with it, is there anything that makes you wonder? How are you interpreting what has been shared? Okay, so FK, your hand is up. I don't know whether it's a legacy hand or you want to share. Suhini, because you've already talked, I'm modeling this in a way that we give opportunity to another person. So Gideon, you can go. And then if nobody raises their hand, my good friend Suhini will go. Okay, go ahead.
All right, thank you very much. I think I'm seeing something with integration, which is making me want to share this thought. But I see a beautiful picture when I look at integration. Beautiful in the sense that I'm looking at how the colors are mixed up and giving a bright and a beautiful color or painting with regards to what I see at belonging, making it look a bit scattered and not giving so clear a picture. You can belong somewhere, but you can't find your feet where I am belonging. Am I really where I want to be? But if you see yourself at the place of integration, at every point where there is a color that you feel you can make an impact there, you can still find your space. So that's what I wanted to share from here. Thank you.
Very, very interesting. Thank you, Gideon. Integration, as we can all see, it's neatly laid out. You could see very neat. And when we think about the concept of integration, it's more about bringing things together, bringing people together, you know. And so this is very neatly laid out. But then belonging looks messy and chaotic, and very interesting to hear from Gideon in terms of how he is decoding this. This is really interesting. Nora? Go ahead, Nora. 'Cause, 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 'cause It looks like Nora is not audible.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Please, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. For my understanding of the diagrams, the exclusion tells us that to me, I'm coming from the disability aspect in the sense that people are being neglected or are being separated from the others. For me, that's what the diagram tells me, that they are not part. Some are not part of what we're supposed to enjoy. And then the segregation they are separated in a different place. They belongs to one community or one environment. And then also the integration means it's about the quantity, not for me, not the quality. They are looking at the quantity, not the quality. The other necessary materials which need to make them effective are not there. They don't care about who survive. They only care about the quantity. I want to come to the belonging. I see is to be inclusive. It means that everybody is included, and the necessary materials they need to equip or to help learners.
I think we lost Nora.
I think it's been planned for. For me, that's the way we code the diagram so far. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Nora. That's really interesting. I like your thinking, especially around integration. And even though it looks neatly laid out, it appears like, oh, we are putting everybody together and like the integration is usually what we do when we think about inclusion. And that's not really radical, because yes, we can say we are inclusive, we will bring everybody together, but we need to think about what are some of the power balances. Like when you put 5 students in the midst of 5 teachers and say, I'm bringing them together, we need to be mindful of power dynamics that exist. That are the students able to be themselves and share, or will they feel or they have the agency to do what the teachers may do, or will they feel like they will need to be quiet because they are with teachers? So when we think about integration or when we think about inclusion, yes, it can really mirror this Ethiopian idea, which is like, oh, like equality, like we are all equal. So we put all of us together and we expect certain outcomes. But I think this diagram challenges us a bit further. So because of time, I won't be able to engage more people to share. But what I wanted us to do, which those who shared have actually unpacked for me as a starting point, is it begins with exclusion, where when we look here, we could see that the people, or let's assume these are people, real people. Those people have been excluded from being inside this space. So that's how exclusion happens. Like, so thinking about your classroom, thinking about the different groups of students that you have, thinking about even the space that you find yourself as a teacher, even in church, in your networks, wherever that you find, there's a sort of exclusion that happens when groups come together. There will be people who are inner, there are people who are outside, and those who are outside always suffer because their voice is not heard, their ideas are not taken. Teachers can tend to do this when we have a class where there are some students who are very brilliant, and there are some students, as even in brilliance, as it is very subjective, like where we think these students are performing well, sometimes the attention might be on them a lot. They tend to be the student that we send them. They tend to be the student that we spend time with them. They tend to be the student that we mentor them. But then there will be other students, because of different social identity markers that they have, they may be excluded. And sometimes exclusion doesn't happen intentionally. It can be unintentional, but it can happen because of sometimes our own biases, our own ways of seeing things. And when we look at segregation, we could see that there are some people in the group, but then there are people who are only here. So they may feel like, oh, we are part, but then are we really part of this group? They are in a group. Yes, we are all a group of graduate teachers. We are all a group of students. But then even within the classroom, there is segregation. Some people tend to sit together because they are friends. Some people tend to sit together because they are from the same ethnic group, because they speak the same language. These things will happen in a society, like I said, that is hinged or rooted in systems of power or systems that already denies us relationship. So this is how segregation works. So you may think, oh, we are all in this space, but some people will be in that space who feel they are segregated, they are excluded in a way. So segregation can also be a form of exclusion. And then when we go to integration, yes, we are pushing for inclusion, so everybody. So let's put everybody together. But then we need to be critical when we think about this because it looks very neatly. But then we think about what form of inclusion are we doing? Are we including people because we think everybody says we should include, or we are including people because we think it is important for us to create space for people to be part and be part of the table, to be part of the conversation? What I want to say is that when we include students or when we include groups and we don't think about empowering them to have the agency or the power to decide some of these things, that will not be inclusion. That will still be exclusion. So we really need to think about this because, yes, we can say, oh, we want to be very gender balanced. But even in the gender balance, I'll use this as an example, like our politicians will say, oh, the cabinet has some women in it. That is very important because previously what was happening was exclusion. But now there is inclusion of some women in the system of government. But then you ask yourself, are they empowered to be able to hold the space? When they share knowledge, when they share ideas, are they also taken as equally important as compared to, let's say, the men? So yes, we can all say, oh, we are all inclusive, but we really need to also think about when we bring people together, that looks so beautiful in this neatly designed. Does it really mean we are being inclusive? So that's a question for me, for all of us to think about. We may not have answers. And then belonging is very messy. But the thing about belonging is that it is an extension of inclusion. So yes, we have started from exclusion. Then we come to understand segregation. Then we are now thinking about inclusion. But then what does it mean for belonging? You can be included here, but you may not belong. You can be in a group that they've added you to the group, but you think you belong. Does that group honor your experiences? Does that group respect like you, not because maybe you have money or you have education, but belonging is always messy. And one thing about belonging is that everybody can define the space. For inclusion, it is important, but not everyone have the power to define the space. But in belonging, it's scattered, it's messy. So different groups can define the space. And in a way, they are empowered to take action or to do something. So as we think about inclusion, as we think about exclusion, we need to think about what it means to stretch or to extend the idea of inclusion, because inclusion is often seen as a belief system. We don't see it as a practice. We see it as a belief system. That's why it will look like very neatly laid out. But then when we see it as a practice, we will extend beyond it and think about the agencies of the people, the agencies of the student, the agencies of the different groups within that space, and to think about whether, even though they are in that space, they have the power to decide certain things. So I just wanted to draw attention to it. So why should culturally relevant pedagogy matter to us as teachers in Ghana? I would like us to think about our educational system, which I know most of you are aware of. Our educational system is an inheritance from the British colonial era educational system. And my research looks into decolonizing education, where we remove or we think beyond the ways in which the West or the white people have taught us this is how we learn, to how we as people draw from our own cultural knowledges, experiences, and perspectives, and that cultural context to think about learning. So one thing is that culturally relevant pedagogy is important for us as teachers in Ghana because our educational system is so colonized. And when you look at history, the educational system, that's the former educational system that was introduced by the British, was aimed to civilize subjects who could serve in the colonial administration. So the idea was that they were trading, they were doing different things. They need people who could do some sort of clerical duties. They needed people who could speak English so that they could help in their trade. They were not really rooted in you identifying yourself, your culture, and even seeing the good in your culture. You know, so Bob Marley says, we need to how do you say this word? We need to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. So what happens is that they did not situate this formal educational system that we still have in a way that really helps us to have belief in the good of what we already have. And it is also aimed in a way that removed our indigenous knowledges, our experiences, the ways in which our ancestors were using different indigenous perspectives to create different things way before they came. They made it look like ours was inferior or irrelevant. And this is how the formal education was built on. So as you are here and as a teacher, you need to always remind yourself that you are serving a system that is colonial. We inherited that colonial education. Nkrumah came, he tried to decolonize. He tried, some worked. Still, we could see our leaders, our politicians, our education folks still look up to the West. There's nothing wrong with that. But then in so doing, they copy and paste whatever is happening in Canada, US, UK, Australia, New Zealand into the context of Ghana without really grounding it in cultural knowledges. So I want you to know that culturally relevant pedagogy matter because our own cultural ways of knowing are very important. And my research, the one that I did for my PhD, has uncovered different ways in which even indigenous ways of teaching maths can look like, you know. So another thing is that some people will think colonization has ended. I want you all to think about it. Colonization has not ended. That's why Nkrumah said, neocolonialism is the last stage of imperialism. When we gained independence, which was the flag independence, we didn't really gain independence. That independence was symbolic. Still, we are being controlled by what we learn, what we do. That's why you see a lot of NGOs in Ghana, mainly coming from the West. What are they doing? They are trying to tell you this is how you teach your kids. This is how you train your kids. So there are certain practices that were being done within our culture that was helping some of us that now they have been taken away because of certain paradigms or knowledges or ideas or values or ideals. And these are not in sync with our culture. And so when that happens, there's a cultural crash. People lose their identity. Now even parents don't want to teach their kids their local language. Meanwhile, multiple studies have shown that when a child learns first in their local language, they are able to even do well in English and other forms of language. So this image, speak English. Maybe some of you may have this in your class. I don't want to come at you. But why? English language domination. The English language is very important because that is the reason why we are here and we are communicating. But why do we penalize students to be in a space if we say we are inclusive? When they speak their language, you say it's vernacular and you punish them. You see this a lot. And so what is happening is that our cultural knowledges that are rooted in our local languages that are essential for us, because you build from a place of known to unknown, because many students or many kids are not taught in Twi, even at home, they can't speak Twi, they are losing their whole identity. And there's this scholar called Ngugi wa Thiong'o. He's from Kenya. He said that language is the carrier of culture. So if you lose your language, you lose your culture. So what is happening? Today, our educational system still prioritizes rote memorization over critical thinking because the colonial era educational system, the idea was for you to speak English, for you to be able to memorize certain things, to help in their trade. They were not really thinking about us developing. So they will penalize mother tongue expression. There's also the centering of foreign knowledges, even in our textbooks, teaching students about snow when these students have not seen snow before. Teaching students about the London Bridge when there's another, well, even more beautiful bridge like the Adome Bridge, which students can relate. So there's nothing about cultural relevance, most of it, in the way our curriculum is framed, our textbooks is framed, because most of it are even backed by Western organizations. And so there's also teaching practices that decenter or take away student voice and look at students as people who we transmit knowledge to. So these are some reflection questions. You don't need to answer them. You can write them down. I want you to think about this as a practitioner, as a facilitator, as a teacher. How do you see colonial patterns still shaping your classroom today? Sometimes some of these things, even the way we arrange our classrooms, the seating, the teacher is seated in front. There's a relation of power, because you enter the class, you see the teacher here. The way we teach, the teacher pouring everything, lecture method, student taking it, transmission of knowledge. It happens in even the way we go to assembly and do certain things. It happens even the way we think about what is ours and what is not ours. What would it mean to teach in a way that reclaim Ghanaian stories, languages, and cultural realities? And also, what does it mean to affirm cultural relevance in our teaching? What does it mean when we teach students first by understanding their experiences, the games they play, the songs they sing, the different things that they do? When it affirms it, what does it mean like? So these are some questions that I want to leave with you as you continue to take this journey with me. So when we think about culturally relevant pedagogies, it was coined by an American professor called Gloria Layson-Billing in 1995. And this is an approach that affirms that culture is not a side topic. As we know, culture is a way of life of people, and it encompasses our language, our food, our traditions, our customs, and our systems of governance, a lot of things. So it's not a side thing. It means that culture is very essential for us when we think about teaching. Understanding your students and where they are coming from, their perspectives, how they do things, their values is very central to understanding how cognition, motivation to learn, and identity formation happens for these kids. So according to Layson-Billings, culturally relevant pedagogy, which we call CRP, demands that pedagogy affirms student cultural identities, histories, and community wisdom. So when you are teaching, the curriculum shouldn't be seen as a Bible or as a Quran. The curriculum is important, but they are not to guide you in everything that you do. As a teacher, you have to mend or bend the curriculum in a way in which some of the examples, in math, in science, there are different subjects. I didn't like word problems in math, not because I wasn't intelligent, but most of the questions, a ladder leans against a wall of this. What local examples can we still use in framing these questions that can still help students? Because when you say a ladder leans a wall, and I don't understand the language, I don't understand the description because it may be far removed from my experience as a student. I may not have seen a ladder before. How do I understand this question? So students struggle not because they are not good, but because there is no cultural relevance in what they teach. I say that the curriculum is an imported knowledge because they import Western knowledge. They import these things from the West, assuming that when we place it here, it is good. But it may not be good. It may be good for kids in the West because they can relate to those examples. But what happens to our own kids who play chaskele, who play games like Chempe, You can use this to teach fractions. But then what happens in our textbooks? We teach fractions in a way that de-agentize students. That makes it look like our students don't have any experience in fractions or in all these topics. But these students see these things happening. They experience them. So how do you bring some of these things into the way you teach? CRRP also promote academic success, not through assimilation, but through cultural relevance. And I've talked about this. Our curriculum is an imported curriculum because it tends to center or put more emphasis on the Western knowledges without our own. And when you do that, you are doing assimilation, because when you look at the curriculum, it's talking about 21st century skills, all these things, globalizations. They are really good because we move from the local to global. But for us to be global, we need to develop our local agency and local knowledge. Look at China. Math is taught in Chinese, but Chinese students who come to Canada and US are topping math, physics, and chemistry. So it means that it's not just about the language. It's about when you make the learning experiential for the learner, when they are able to connect what they learn, when they are able to relate to them, they are able to do well. But what is happening is that as teachers who are agents of change, as teachers who are knowledge creators, sometimes we tend to rather do assimilation than translation. So how do we think about this? And the last leg of it is developing critical consciousness. Of late, I go on social media, especially on Twitter X, and I feel so sad as a Ghanaian because growing up, the kind of people that I grew up with, they were really thinking more deeply about some of these social issues. But now we have politicized everything. There's what I call binaries or polarization happening, in the sense that when we teach students, we disconnect what they learn from what is happening. The corruption, the injustice, the violence, the tribalism and all of that. When we teach even social studies, how do we connect them to real life issues, real injustice issues happening? And how do we support students to be critically conscious? So the idea of critical consciousness is your ability to challenge dominant notions or the status quo or things that people have normalized. Your ability to look at it differently and say, no, what does this serve? People are following our politicians, and so because of that, we are not even critically engaging in some of the harms and dangers happening. So when we teach, we also have to think about what George Dewey, who was an American scholar, said. Education, the purpose of education should be used for social reconstruction. How do we use whatever we teach students? How do we connect them to social issues? How do we connect them to, okay, so when you do this, you are able to use this knowledge to address this issue. Teaching is mostly seen from an abstraction point of view. So students are learning all the math, they are learning all the science, but they don't really see how it is connecting to the day-to-day things that is happening. So this is really important. So culturally relevant pedagogy, or CRP, I want you to understand that it is a path of repair. It is a path of, because we are repairing the damage that has been caused. We are repairing what colonial education has taught us, that our knowledge, our ideas, whatever belongs to us as people is not important. And because of that, we don't even believe in our own things. We don't even believe in ourselves and our knowledges. And so there's a cultural bomb, which Ngugi talks about as discarding the memories of colonized people, removing everything about them and replacing it with the memories of the West, where the West is worshipped, where when we think about best pedagogies, we are always looking at UK, Canada, all of this. I'm not saying DS is not good, but how do we also think about our own cultural knowledges? So it is a repair. So it invites us to center Ghanaian culture, our languages, and our community wisdom. When I was teaching in Volo, in the Volta part of Ghana in 2016, 2017, I couldn't speak the Ewe language, but I was a math teacher. What I was doing is that there was a student in my class who was very fluent in Twi and also fluent in Ewe. So I will explain the thing in English, no, in Twi, and then I'm like, explain this in Ewe for them. And then there were a lot of aha moments. Oh, we have been conditioned to think that when we teach our students with our local culture, our local language, we create a disservice. That's not true. Research shows that students really understand these things. So the idea of code switching, like if you are teaching and students are struggling, it is important that you think about, oh, okay, maybe I'm speaking too much English. Let me switch it. They may get it. We need to be at a place where we are able to do that kind of blended approach to learning, where we are honoring the experiences of our students and also bringing in the Western ideas. In that way, we are able to teach for students to develop holistically. You know, how do we teach to affirm student identities rather than making them assimilate? If you are teaching in a place where it is majority of, let's say, Ashanti kids, it doesn't mean every kid in that space should be pushed to do what is happening there. We need to also affirm their own identities. And we need to restore the dignity to our own indigenous knowledges because they have a lot to teach us. Even our proverbs alone is a window to a lot of learning. I personally use the philosophy of Sankofa. I have theorized it. I've published works in it, in books. That the white people here, they are very interested in it. When I was interviewing for my job as a professor, I did a talk and everything centered on Sankofa. They were all wowed. You know, the things that we are leaving behind that we think is not important for our students to learn or how we engage them. Now the whites are taking over it because they have seen that it is valuable. And so we need to think about all these things. So now I want us to look at some of the strategies, the tenets. So when I say tenets, you can think about it as principles, strategies, or ways in which CRP looks like. So in the first column, you could see the components of it. And then what does it mean? And why does it matter for us as teachers? So the first one is asset-based lens. Most of the time, teachers may be tempted to think about their students in a very deficit way. Oh, this child doesn't know anything. We don't really look at them as assets. We look at them as liabilities. But then CRP says that in the classroom space, as teachers, we need to consider or look at our students from that asset-based lens. So what it means is that seeing students as knowledge bearers, not empty vessels, or what the psychologists say, tabula rasa. And then what does it mean for us as teachers? It means that students come with wisdom, they come with knowledge. And as our job as teachers, we need to awaken that knowledge that they have. We need to build on it. We need to not push it away. We need to build on it. And when we do that, and our approaches tell us our PK is important, but how do we do this in a way that makes the student become confident that, oh, these things that I even play with are important. So asset-based, not Akrawidi and all these things, but seeing them as people who also have something to bring. And belonging, as we talked about, some students are in a class, they feel they don't belong because most of the time, when they say something and they are wrong, we see, oh, people will even laugh at them. Even teachers are not seeing them as, oh, how do I support this child? So they become laughing stock. So what happens is that they will not feel safe within that space to even share. And so what that means is that we need practices that affirm difference and co-create safety for students. Yes, in the classroom space, there are differences. I learn differently. You learn differently. I am from different cultural background. I may speak different, like I may speak Twi, but we need to affirm and say, yes, we are not the same. So we don't teach the same thing or use the same approach to teach, but we create safety for people who may not belong to that dominant culture to feel like I am safe here to share what I can hear. And what happens? What does it matter? Without belonging, there's no learning. Only performance or withdrawal is what will happen. When your student doesn't feel they belong in that classroom space, learning cannot occur. And then another one is relational pedagogies. What does it look like for the teacher and student relationship? When I was in school, it took one teacher who brought me close to him to say, hey, Kenneth, you are from Atobiase, a small town in Ghana. I am coming from Kumasi, but I think there's something good in you. I'll bring you close to me and guide you. How do we model that kind of relationship where students don't fear us? Yes, they need to respect us, but then they are able to come to us and share things. How do we build this on mutual respect and also care? Because as teachers, there's an aspect of care work that we do, you know. And then the other aspect is cultural relevance, which I've talked about. How does the content that you teach, when you look at the curriculum and the topics that it wants you to teach, how does it reflect different languages, practices, and stories? How are you even bringing the stories of these students into it? We may be so much tired of reading books that talk about Queen Elizabeth and all of these things. We need to also read books that talk about our own people. So when you look at a curriculum, when you look at the syllabus, when you look at the textbook, and as a teacher, you are preparing a lesson, how are you reflecting around the practices, the stories? What knowledge are you centering? Whose voice are you centering? Whose experiences are you centering? You need to ask yourself this. Because it matters, because when students don't see themselves in the curriculum, they see themselves as less. You know, and I have done work in this area, so I know what I'm talking. There are some textbooks for maths and science. When they talk about images, they are usually boys or men of doctors or of scientists. They are very biased. And so girls may not see themselves becoming engineers or doctors or scientists. These are values that are rooted in a system that is not really positive. So as a teacher, how do you remedy this? Is really important. And then I talked about critical consciousness, naming structural power, privilege, and exclusions, and students learning to locate themselves within wider systems, not just memorize facts. How do you connect whatever you are teaching to students for them to see themselves like, I have a responsibility as a human being, that the learning that I'm taking in this school, whatever that I learn, I'm using it to go and question systems of power. Why should we have a system where there are some schools without books and there are some schools with so many books? These are systems of oppression. How are students even thinking about these things? Because we are in a system that promotes privilege. So, and family, it doesn't matter to me because I don't go to school in grade tier B or C. I go to Upokuwari or I go to Prempeh. So whatever happens in a school in a village somewhere, I don't care. No, you have to care. The knowledge that you are learning should be able to question systems of power. And then flexible teaching methods. We need to find multiple ways of expressing learning. Some students are oral, visual, or kinetic. How do you embody this in your classroom so that you are always not teaching to the same audience? Some of us teach to the same audience because we fail to understand different ways of expressing learning. And this also has a role to play in assessment. Every day, write about myself. There's no application. So assessment is always favoring people who can memorize. So the students who are really intelligent. So I heard this thing, and it is true that most of the students who get third class end up not really go and get a PhD and all of that. But they usually become creators. They usually create businesses that really thrive and change the system. Because one thing is that our educational system focuses so much on memorization of facts. So the student who can jibaba is seen as the intelligent. So people who they learn differently, and because we are only assessing the knowledge components, when you look at what I know everyone here knows about the Bloom taxonomy, we are always looking at the knowledge and understanding, So inclusion means honoring diversity, not standardizing expression. And the final one being reflexive practice. As teachers, We need to reflect on our own biases and our positionality. We need to think about how am I creating space where students feel safe to share? How is my teaching informing the multiple cultures of the student, the identities, the different modes and ways of learning for students? And so teachers must do the inner work to model outer transformation. I think the time is almost up, but I'll run through this quick. I want to be respectful of your time. So how do you plan and prepare for a class that integrates CRP? The first one is you need to know your learners. So one thing that I have been doing, even when I was teaching in high school, is to get to know my students. So in the first time that I come to class, I try to conduct identity mappings or student inventories, where I get to understand who are my students, what languages do they speak, what values do they have, what are they looking for in my class, and how can I support them? We need to know our students, because when we know our students, we are able to model our teaching, learning, and assessment in a way that supports their learning. And the second one, knowing yourself as a teacher. As teachers, we have privileges. We are positioned in a very powerful way. As teachers, we have power, we have respect. So what are some blind spots do you carry into your classroom? When I talk about blind spots, things that you may not see. So it can be an assumption around who is a smart student or what student has a good behavior, the way we punish students. Some of these things, it's about our blind spots, things that we don't see. You know, when you are driving and you look at the mirror, the side ones, sometimes you are able to see a car coming, but sometimes the car may be close, but you may not see that it is close. It can be your blind spot. So as a teacher, you have to know your, like always, you are calling the intelligent student. Even when some students raise their hand up, you are not calling them. You know, sometimes we are a bit biased in all of this. Rosa, I know your hand is up. I just saw that. Please jump in.
Just a quick one. I know that we're just a minute away. It's actually now on the clock for our session to end, but I'm enjoying this session so much, and I wanted to find out from our dear educators here. We respect your time, but you know we're doing also this because of you. Would you permit to give us like 15 minutes for him to wrap up? If not, we will end the section immediately. Please let us know. Okay, I see yes, 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 yes. Sure. Thank you so much. So you can carry on, Kenneth, for the
Thank
next
you very much. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so I will continue. So the third thing, and like I'm sharing this, these are not standard like everybody has to do. It can be one of these things that you may pick as a teacher that you find relevance in this. You know, but that this can be like the starting point for us to think about how we are supporting our students. Culturally relevant pedagogy is not only about culture. It's also about how we even engage the learning experience, how we assess the knowledge, how we support students, how we model a learning that is very much rooted in student voice, agency, and their knowledge, and also supporting them to think for themselves, to become critical thinkers. You know, because as most of you here will agree with me, critical thinking is currently the missing piece in our educational system. And you cannot blame the teacher because the teacher is not involved in framing and developing the curriculum. Teachers don't have so much power to change things. But as teachers, it may start from the little that we can do in our own classroom to inspire that change. So the third one is move from delivering content to co-stewarding learning. When we look at the curriculum, oh, I need to cover all these topics. I know. They even want you to do a certain number of homework, assignments, and exercises. Yes, hegemony. There's so much power coming from up. But in your own space, the content is important, but don't focus on just the content, because the content that they give, you need to think about how do you circle back. when you think about a topic that you are going to teach, you think about how can I teach this differently? How can I support my students so that I am not just teaching them about distillation as it's in the textbook, but I am actually thinking about, oh, the Akwetishin people, the process of distilling alcohol is distillation. How do I connect some of these examples? What other things can I bring to widen or to open up what I'm teaching? And also bringing students into the learning. That's what we call co-stewarding the learning. The student in the space, I know many Ghanaian teachers say we are facilitators of knowledge. Are we really facilitating that? Co-stewarding also include, oh, how do you want me to assess you on this? There was a student I taught here who I gave an assignment for them to write a 500-word paper, very short. The student delayed. She was not submitting. I was like, what is happening? I sent an email to this student. We met and she was like, Ken, I love your class, but the thing is that essays are not my thing. I would rather want to do a voice, like put things together in the form of a presentation where I share orally. It is accepted here in Canada in my classes, even in primary, there is what they call multimodal assessment. You know, different ways like infographics, presentations, voice, essays. So they are bringing, and the assessment is not only one. Students can actually choose one. In my own class, I ask students to choose their own topic they want to write about. When you do that, you give them agency, and then that's where you see the brilliance. So how do we co-steward? When you are thinking about developing a lesson, especially those of you who teach in high school or junior high school, you may think about, oh, this is how I want to teach this. Not everything, but some of them. How do you want to learn about this? How do you want me to model this? It's very important. Co-stewarding. In that case, students feel very agentic in their space and they come up and they share a lot. There's a lot of activities in class, so then it doesn't make the lesson boring. Many students don't like math because it's boring. But the way I teach math, my students love it because I engage them in there. And I empower them to feel that whatever that they have is important. I engage them to feel that the answer is not where we are looking at, it's the method, it's the process. Learning is not a destination, it's the process. So the final one, don't be a slave to the curriculum. Like I said, the curriculum cannot be seen as a Quran or as a Bible. As a teacher, you have the power to think about how you model it. The syllabus says do these activities. If it doesn't work, bring examples, bring examples that really affirm the cultural knowledges, the experiences, the things that students can relate with. And the research is there to support that. When students are able to relate with what they learn, they excel at it. So that's something that we all need to think when we are planning a class that is CRP inspired. So let's go to the next. How do you design the lesson? So this is where you design lesson or learning experience with inclusion and culture at the center, not as an add-on. Most people think, oh, because when we are doing culturally relevant pedagogy, we are just adding them. No, you cannot fix them in. It won't work. It's just like the images I shared. The inclusion, neatly defined, it has been fixed in. But what sort of inclusion does it look? So we need to see these perspectives as the center of our teaching, rather than like painting it around it. That would just be like a decorated monkey. You are saying you are being inclusive or you are being culturally responsive, but you are not, because you are only thinking it from this is what the curriculum is saying. I am just fixing these few examples in it, and that is culturally responsive. That's not. So when you plan lessons, here are some of the questions that you could think about. And I really like inquiry, or what we may call inquiry, because it's an act of asking questions, deeper ones, to think about things. So who is centered in this lesson? Before you teach that topic, ask yourself, who is centered? When I say who is centered, what values, what knowledges, what image is centered in this lesson. Most of the time, the curriculum teaches us to center the dominant image. This can be the culture, this can be gender, this can be different things. But you ask yourself, who is centered? If a specific group are centered in that lesson, what happens to the ones who are decentered? So it's very important. What assumptions does this activity make? If you want to use an activity, I know syllabus, textbooks give you a lot of activities, but you ask yourself, what assumptions does this activity make about intelligence, about language, about culture, about knowledge? Does it carry an assumption that tends to only reflect students who can chew, pour, and forget? Or it brings in critical thinking, it brings in application of knowledge, it brings in multiple ways of expressing knowledge? Does it? And you, the teacher, what assumptions do you even also have about that topic? Is there a space for you to include multiple ways of teaching in that? And then the last question that I leave with you is there more than one way for students to show what they know? You know, I taught math here to one of my, so they are like in Canada, we call them teacher candidates. So it's just like in Ghana, those of you who went to the university to do the B.Ed. So I teach math in that program. And one thing that I started with them, simple addition, place value. I introduced them to it. And I asked, who was taught this same method in math? Everybody in the class said, yes, I was taught this way. And I'm like, did you ever ask why you were not taught differently? They said no. Critical consciousness is important. So the method, one method, religiously, that's what every teacher wants to use to teach. Then I introduced them to 4 other methods of teaching the same thing. And the 4 other methods that I introduced was more easier for them and it was more relatable to them. So as a teacher, whenever that you look at your curriculum, the syllabus, the topic that you're teaching, ask yourself, is there more than one way for students to show what they know? Or is there more than one way I can teach so that students who may not really get this method may also see themselves in the learning? These are some questions. In designing a lesson, I'm not giving you any guide, but I'm giving you these questions to think about. And then I want us to look at this quickly. Okay. Where do you mirror this in your teaching? So the first column here gives you the area. The second gives you the strategy. As some of you shared, CRRP can be a strategy, can be a practice, can be a science, it can be an art. So in terms of content, how do you include local stories, local examples, oral traditions, community issues that the students are learning? You are teaching about climate change, but you are talking about UN climate change, but you are not talking about Ghana, the Galamsey that is happening. How are we connecting whatever we are teaching students to the daily experiences that students, the things that students see on the news, see on their way to school? This is very important. That is how you center the land in your teaching. There's a concept of teaching called land-based learning, where you center the land. If you're in a town in Volta region, I'm mentioning a lot of Volta region because it's one of my favorite places in Ghana. That is where I found myself as a teacher, you know. So I always refer to that, but that doesn't mean I don't love. I also love every part of the country. But if you are teaching there, look at some of the community issues and think about how do they connect to some of the topics that I teach and how do I bring it in the classroom for students? You know, it's very important. Assessment, I've said about this, I've talked about this. Multimodal assessment. How are we assessing knowledge differently? Should everything be about exercise? Sometimes it just may be oral, asking them oral like questions. Sometimes it may be inquiry project where you give them an assignment to go to the community and do a research and bring it and share and suggest things to improve it. no matter where you teach, even if it's grade 5, what you are doing for them in that way is that you are teaching them how to do research. How do you assess knowledge? And then participation. As we know, our classrooms are already rigid and hierarchical, the seating arrangement and all of that. How are you ensuring that everybody's voice is heard when you teach? I'm always mindful of the silences. Discipline. How do we move from punishment to relational repair? What are some of the ways in which we think about how we even punish students? It's very important. And then grouping. When we are forming groups, are we forming ability tracking where we are putting the intelligent, so-called intelligent students in a group or the students from one culture in a group? How do we think about creating space for students to learn from them, peer mentorship and cross-cultural learning? This is very important. So being a CRP-minded teacher is not just what you do, but it's about how you do it. This is very important. It's not about what you do, it's about how you do it. So yes, you are a teacher, you teach all the lessons. It's not about what you do, it's about how do you do it? How do you teach? So here are a few considerations. How do you co-create classroom assessment? I've talked about this, or agreement. So there's a track method, which is trust, respect, reciprocity, accountability, consent, passion, and kindness. Before you teach any class, if you are posted to a school or if you are teaching a class in the academic year, you have to make them agree on certain norms, and the track strategy is very important. How do you use multiple languages or code switching? Like I said, how do you bring the local language to explain some things when you think the students are too quiet? You can learn math in Tree. I learned all my math in Tree, and I was good at math. And today I teach math in the university. Everybody can be good at math. I learned most of my math in Tree. How do you code switch? Chinese people, like I said, they all learn their math in Chinese, but they are among the best. Integrate different things, storytelling, play-based activities. How do you make power visible in your class? How do you reflect on whose knowledge is in the textbook and who is missing? How do you do all these reflective pauses when you teach? For instance, after you teach, you ask yourself, what did I learn about myself today? You ask students also, what did they learn about themselves today? Always closing it with key learning and key takeaways. What have they learned? This is very important. So in terms of closing, what changes when we do culturally relevant pedagogies well? When inclusive and culturally relevant pedagogies are alive, students no longer feel like outsiders in their education. Students and teachers become relational guides, facilitators of knowledge, not enforcers of knowledge. Learning becomes rooted in reality, practice, practical things, not just abstractions. It pushes us away from boredom. Classroom becomes spaces of critical engagement, not assimilation. So now, quickly, I want you to fill out the last column. I know the time is up now. What are some of the key takeaways from your reflections on the topic today? So you can put it in your chat, but I want to give you a minute quickly for you to list. I call this brain dump. You are dumping everything that has come to your mind. Write it down. This is also something that you can do with your students. It can be a form of an assessment that teachers don't even do. You know, where you start the lesson with the first 2 columns, and then after the lesson, you ask them. It's called journaling. It's very important. It's a very beautiful way of teaching. You know, that way you're able to see what the students have learned because the learning is individual. This brings me to the end of the lesson. Thank you so much. Now, I am open for questions, if there is.
We literally have like a minute to leave here. So if there's one question we can take. Dr. Gyamerah, is there anyone you want to call so I can call the person and we wrap up from here?
Okay, I think the first person who raised their hand based on what I can see is Christian. So Christian, if you want to share.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm much grateful for your time and your presentation. Please, my challenge, the kids cannot any of the Ghanaian languages in the curriculum. I am teaching Chi, and I'm to teach Chi in Ghanaian in English. And always, the school authorities and parents are always on we, the Ghanaian language teachers in school, that we are not doing the work right. Please, what is the best way you can help me handle this? Because I think teaching of Ghanaian language, or even for a language, someone to understand language, it must start from the home. But here lies the kids are not speaking the language in the house, but their parents are expecting us to put it in their brains in school. Please, can you help me on how to handle it? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Christian. This thing came up in my research and for my PhD work, where we see parents being the strong force when it comes to the issue of language. There are tons of studies, even here in Canada, they have English and French, so it's compulsory. But then they also have indigenous, like many people who are outside don't know, Canada have indigenous languages that they learn also apart from English and the French, because the research is saying that when you code switch, when you integrate both the L1 and the L2 in teaching, it benefits students, but parents, we have been sold a promise as society, especially in Africa, in Ghana, that when a child knows how to speak English, that's intelligence. So language, instead of it being a communication tool, becomes a measurement of knowledge. That's the problem. So yes, they will take them to school. When the child comes and they're able to speak English, the parents are not critical because they think, oh, they are speaking English, so they are good. So there's that resistance, even to the point, which is colonization of the mind, to the point that the African being has actually thrown away what is theirs in order to find the identity of someone who they are not. So I'm not saying teaching English is not good, but teachers, we need to code switch. We need to use them side by side with the local language. That's how you develop the kids. That's how I learned. And today I'm here. So we need to debunk some of these myths around the local language, where we look down on tree, ewe, all the different local languages we have, and rather develop them side by side with the English. When you go to Norway, they speak Norwegian. They teach them if you want to go and do undergrad there, you have to learn it. But every Norwegian also can speak English. They teach them side by side. When you go to Finland, their native ways of communication is not English, but they consistently rate the #1 in education. They teach them in Finnish. China, they are going to space with their Chinese. So language is very important. It's a career of culture and knowledge. So we really need to, as teachers, be agents to inform parents, to push against that. Teach your kids the local, like the Cree, the Ewe, the Dagomba, all of that. Teach them English too. It benefits them. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Gyamerah. This is where I know we have a lot of hands up, but we will have to draw the curtains here. But you know what? He's still on our timetable for the reflection, questions and reflection times during the end of the training. If we have a lot of requests from you that you would want him to repeat this topic and go more deeper, we will find a way to get on his calendar to arrange this similar training with a more deeper focus on it. But again, we are having him for our reflection time. And so we would say that we will end it here. And if, Kenneth, you have maybe like your last words within 30 seconds you would like to share, so that we can close from here. Be mindful of the time. Thank you so much for today. We really appreciate. I've learned so much, and I appreciate the training. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lady Rosa. What I want to say is thank you, everyone. The fact that you are here shows that you are ready to inspire change in your students. And for me, seeing over 300 colleagues of mine here for us to co-create this space and learn really gives me hope that the future is bright. So I want all of you to understand that I appreciate you, and it was really awesome opportunity for me to share knowledge with people, a group that I consider my colleagues, So thank you for your deeper engagement. Hopefully we can find a space where I could be more specific in terms of us, okay, like in math, in science, in this, when you teach, how do you bring it in? So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, all educators. And once again, thank you, Dr. Gyamerah. We appreciate you. Teachers, we wish you all the best. Those of you who couldn't join us live, please make sure you watch this to the end and mark your attendance. We don't want story at the end of October to come up. We know they are actually close to, we are almost close to 1,000 teachers, and looking at all the attendance, people are taking it very, very serious. And so even though you had almost 400 today tuning in, I know over 400 are going to also watch it as well. And so we wish you a good night, and we see you next week for another training. Take good care, and bye-bye.
Please take note that the catchphrase for today is culture, and the attendance phrase is in the chat. So please take note and fill the attendance form. Catchphrase for today is culture. Culture. Culture is the catchphrase for this session. Culture. I hope everybody has heard. Yes, culture. Culture is the catchphrase for today's session. Please fill the attendance form. Please do not forget to fill it before Saturday.